the ideal setup that I want to have within the next 2 years, usually. And I look at other companies who are like our company and 2 years or 3 years or 4 years ahead. So I talk to HubSpot a lot. Why? Because a CRM is a very feature, and marketing automation software, feature-heavy product with a specific user target. So very similar. If I talk to, if I were to talk to you guys, completely different kind of users, different kind of goals, I wouldn't get necessarily the same learnings. So then I map out the ideal and I work my way backwards. I do this all the time when I constantly update. So when I joined recruiting, I said, we need to achieve this ARR within 2 years. This is what I believe will be needed. This will be the setup we will need. This is the setup we have now. How are we going to get from here to here with the resources we have? I think this is really useful, and I did this with the whole team, which turned out to be really, really useful, because I think the more transparent you are with your team, the more independent they can operate. I did this from the start, and we really had a clear idea of when you're doing a small experiment on Taboola to distribute your content more efficiently, why am I doing this? Because it fits into a bigger picture. So an example of how we did this is hiring for content and branding. So I always start with foundation, professional, advanced, ideal. You could break this into 10 steps if you wanted to. It's up to you how you do it. And we did it for content. So I knew that the ideal setup for content would be that we have a head of growth, a social media manager, PR manager, 2 content marketers, an SEO specialist, 2 designers, 1 motion designer, 1 video content creator, and 5 content freelancers. This is our setup now, by the way. We're way ahead. But when I started, I had 0. So I said, okay, by Q1 of this year, so I've adapted the dates to make it more fit, but I did this 2 years ago. So we said at the beginning, we're just going to get an inbound marketer, so a growth marketer who can also write some content. We're going to get a designer, and then we'll get a freelancer on Upwork. Because that is the most basic setup we could get. Small budget, relatively junior people with really high ambition, high skills, high challenge. Start here. Next we said, okay, we're going to get a content marketer, keep the inbound marketer, and then we add another content freelancer. And this isn't just pulled out of the air, it was, okay, we want to have this many visitors on our blog, which means we're going to have to target this many keywords, we're going to have this many articles, and you know, if you do this on a large scale, you have to, of course, estimate a little bit and always adjust as you go along. But we said we want to have this setup. The next step would be to bring in a social media manager, another designer, and another content freelancer on top of that. It was actually quite similar, it wasn't such a big step. By the time we got to the end, we actually promoted the head of content, we brought in another content marketer, we actually had an SEO specialist come in and help us with things, and this is kind of what the ideal setup. There's only one designer still missing, and the SEO specialist is a freelancer, which was not planned. Now this thing can change as you go along. But this was really useful, because this way I could go to the founders and say, if I'm saying, hey, I need a designer, I'm not just pulling it out of nowhere, I'm saying, we have projected this, and then you also need to be open to, maybe you won't need the designer. Maybe you get an agency, maybe you'll get someone in-house 2 days a week. How you do this will evolve. But I found this like a super useful exercise to map out every aspect for your growth and say, this is the end goal. And we included stuff like, our end goal is to be able to have the full web design, web optimization platform on the growth side of the company, not on the product side of the company. So one of the big steps, like step 3, was transferring ownership, was splitting the website from the web app so we could transfer ownership of the website to the growth team. This happened 6 months ago. So doing that, we did this with everything. So you can see this is my sheet. This is my real sheet. I've screenshotted here. And we mapped out green is stuff that we actually did. And every time I did something like, so stage 1, building the growth foundation. So this is the foundation. Stage 2, professional, stage 3, advanced, stage 4, ideal. And I broke it down. So traffic, create, so video content, traffic, CRO, and different parts of CRO. So I put nurturing as part of CRO, because nurturing is there to convert people. But we mapped this out with everything. And of course you're not always going to use it. You're not always going to revisit it, because life gets in the way and gravity gets in the way and you're going to be busy. But doing this at least once, thinking about makes you think about how is this going to look in 2 years? Like, will 2-year me love me or hate me for the decisions I make now? Or 6 months, or 12 months? It's super useful. It's how you make a decision for ConvertKit over HubSpot, for example. It's how you make decisions to move the blog onto a subdomain versus keeping it on the subfolder, which every SEO expert in the world would have told you to do, which I also agree with. I mean, I started in SEO. This is really useful, seeing the context of what you're working in. So we always start with a roadmap. As a result, which is really nice, and this is something we only did in our department because everything grows fast, but we only did in our department, but it made OKR so much easier. Because how are you deciding your OKRs? Either you're taking your previous OKRs and you're upgrading them, or you're kind of thinking about, hey, what do I want to try next? But if you have a bit of a roadmap, it's interesting not only to look at it and see what's changing, what your perspectives are changing, and what you want to do differently, but it also gives you kind of a roadmap for your OKRs. So basically your roadmap can be broken down into OKRs, which are quarterly, and then we break OKRs down into KPIs. So that way, every person on the team knows that the things they're trying to achieve directly contribute to the OKRs, which directly contribute to the roadmap. And that way, when you realize that something major shifts, for example, we decided to move business development away from sales and into growth, you can then factor that in and factor those KPIs in. So this allows you to get an overview. Now, this, please don't share in any circumstances because this is a real slide. But I want to show you the real stuff, and it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's essentially how we set up our OKRs. So we had branding, lead generation. So back then we still call it lead generation. Now we call it customer acquisition because I wanted to account for business development and sales marketing alignment and product marketing and growth. Branding is now content and branding. So execute 3 events, hire a PR manager, 5 marketing webinars, and you can see that some of the stuff is from this roadmap. But one thing we didn't have in here is events. You don't see events anywhere. So that's something new that we added, and then we updated it afterwards.
Are those initiatives or key initiatives, right?
The objectives are, these are the objectives.
Yeah.
The objectives are build and expand our brand, acquire more customers than before, improve the product growth and experience. These are the objectives, the key results of these. So the key results, 75 blog posts in 3 languages. We do that a month now. And I don't say quality over quantity, it's because we have to touch upon so many different topics because we have so many different target audiences.
75 a month.
75 a month, yeah.
How many people?
A month, a quarter.
Oh, a quarter.
Quarter, sorry. No, a quarter. 75 a month is a lot. No, we do about 25 a month. At the
So
moment.
one a day.
Huh?
One a day.
Yeah, in multiple languages. Yeah, we
Very
have about
nice.
7 freelancers writing full time. We have 2 in-house content freelancers who come in twice a week, and we have them on 0-hour contracts.
And they're
And
still
we have
writing.
marketers. Writing, optimizing. We do all kinds of different things. We usually
No,
plan
they're not
content.
visualizing, but they're still writing.
This already.
Yeah.
We plan content internally, and then we have freelancers do kind of the legwork sometimes. And then we have, so we have now freelancers who come in, and this is the thing that this stuff will change. We realized that the transcreation thing was really important. Like translating our content from English to German wasn't working. The Germans had different interests, and there's different ways to trigger them. So we said, we need a German content writer. Freelancers were too far away from the product to really understand it. So we found a content freelancer who would come in 2 days a week. She comes in 2 days a week. She works really closely. So same thing, she sits with our growth marketers to optimize the ads. She sits with our content marketer to plan out new content. And this is where we actually have the in-house knowledge without having to hire new people. So this is all with the problem solving because I never planned to do that. So I think the one caveat is if you do this, you don't have to stick to it religiously. The goal is not to have everything set out perfectly from the start. In fact, you're probably doing something wrong if what you set out 2 years ago is exactly what happened. What you really want to achieve is that you're thinking about what's happening next. That's really the goal, that you're not just doing things in a bubble, in a silo, away from the world. That you have an idea of what you're trying to achieve with everything you do. And then we try to put this in, increase the SQLs by 15%, these kind of things. So these are all the kind of stuff that we look at for each quarter. And then we have rolling numbers, so metrics that we always have. For example, the SQL growth metrics, they're always there. And then there's the extra projects that we put in. So running 4 CRO tests, for example. And here you can see in bold the things we achieved. And here not. This is not a good month in my opinion, for example, because 100% means that you didn't set enough, invested enough goals, right? But we actually had, this is the best quarter we ever had. The Q1 was a huge quarter where we achieved nearly everything. Because Q4 started slowing down, because Q4 is always seasonality, so we got to work on all the projects, and Q1 we got to push them all out.
How long have you been working with OKRs?
I've always worked with OKRs. So with Recruit, we've been doing it since a year and a half.
Okay.
I worked with OKRs at Growth Tribe as well, and also implemented OKRs in various companies back then. Yeah. Every company does OKRs differently. There's no set way that you have to do it. It's just the idea. The idea behind it is really important. And then we turn this into KPIs. Now KPIs is something I changed 100 times over. I've given talks about KPIs so many times, it's always changed. My mistake was that I did too many KPIs. When you have too many metrics, people don't focus. So what we have now is that everyone has 3 to 4 metrics. Also, we don't do KPIs per person anymore. It's great in sales, because you want them to go get and get stuff. But in marketing and growth, you need people to collaborate. So if David needs something from Jesus and Jesus says this doesn't fit in my KPIs, it's not great. So we actually split it into customer acquisition, content and branding, and product growth. And then we have KPIs, we have overall OKRs, and then the KPIs per person. Which means that if you want to achieve the OKRs, you're going to have to collaborate. So here the way that we did it is that everyone has 3 to 4 different metrics, different KPIs, and then you have projects on top. So these are the rolling ones. So for example, Milan is actually going to be replacing Milan, and Adrian are going to be replacing me when I leave, head of content and branding, head of user growth and analytics. He's responsible for SQLs in the pipeline, whereas Simran is responsible for MQLs. Why? Because Simran ensures that the marketing volume is there on the channel level. Milan ensures that actually on the higher level that those increases in MQLs are also translating into SQLs. Right audience, right users, quality, good return on investment. And we try to make this align with the goals that you're trying to achieve. So I think we can do this real quick. Pick one challenge, one aspect, maybe one that's most relevant to you, and try to map out what you think is, at least the first and the last stage, what you think is how you have it now, and what your ideal setup would be within 1 or 2 minutes. You get to pick the time from. I'll leave this on there so you can have an idea. Give you like 5 minutes to do it. It's mainly just to get it into practice. Ideally do it about something that you do every day, that you are responsible for.
Can you give an example?
This is an example. So the content example. So I wanted to build up the content kind of foundation of the content team. So I said this is how it is now, and this is how it could be now, and this is how it should be.
So the question was to pick one challenge and build a roadmap.
Huh?
The
Pick one aspect.
yeah.
It can also be outside of the growth department if you like to. It doesn't really matter. If it's for example branding, you could say something about brand exposure. You could say, okay, well this is what we currently do for branding. Ideally, we should be doing this: events, banners, this kind of stuff.
And it could also be an OKR, right? Or
Well, these would later be translated to OKRs. If you'd rather set up OKRs,
Yeah.
go for that. The idea here, the exercise here, is to think about something you guys do now and how it could look in 1 year. To maybe contextualize a little bit what you're working on now. You could pick, like, if you say, for example, email, you say, oh, you like email drip idea, you could start now our email nurturing is like this. Ideally, it would be like this. You could even make it about something in finance.
So it's a 2-year roadmap now.
Yeah, you can choose a time frame. Doesn't have to be 2 years. In this case, I think maybe try to think from now until the end of 2020. So you can put what Q1 into this year was like, and you can map out. I always do 2 quarters per step, because you never really know if something's going to take 1 or 2, like overlaps and stuff. So. You can also do this about a product, for example. You can do this about a specific feature. It's more a thought exercise than anything else.
Do you want to fill in a team, or do you want to fill in the team, or do you want to fill in something else?
It could be anything. So
Could
if,
be
you,
anything,
if,
okay.
if the goal is, so here the example is the team for
Okay.
content and branding.
Yeah.
But it could also be, like I have, for example, data setup,
Yeah.
where the basic is Google Analytics and HubSpot CRM. And then the 4th one is data warehouse, advanced events-based tracking, 1 data scientist on the team. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. It doesn't have to be about hiring.
It's just a roadmap.
Yeah, exactly. A roadmap for one aspect.
Yeah.
Right back.
Moet je timer weer aanzetten?
Nee, ik ga wel gewoon op mijn kijker spelen.
Ik heb geen idee hoe ik het geluid kan uitzetten.
Dan gaat het geluid uit. Dat maakt niet uit. Zo goed. Heb je nog timers?
Doe je niet op een Android?
We're a special class of people.
Hoe krijg je er helemaal hè? Niet zoveel geld als de spiegel van iPhone.
I get second hand. I recycle.
Dat is geen beste.
Ja.
Nee, ga ik ook terug uit China halen.
If it helps, you can always try to differentiate between team, process, and deliverable. So you can make one about a team, you can make one about process improvements, you can make one about deliverables. Do you want me to pull up the original so you have a reference point? Let me see. And this is the older version, I've updated it.
So you have, yeah, everything is around for each topic.
Yeah, so here I broke down into stages. So here I have process, the growth process, create a team, plan 2-hour growth sprints, blah, blah, blah. Traffic, optimize and automate performance marketing. Traffic, inbound marketing. Traffic, viral marketing. CRO, community management. CRO, landing pages. CRO, email drip marketing. CRO, remarketing. Then branding, we had design, content, data, we had tracking. Retention, we had UX, onboarding, and product marketing. This is the foundation we had at the time. And then we just always said, but like you said, I haven't updated with green what we have.
Are you also able to share this one?
This I can't show you.
Ah, did we show you?
Sorry, I'm happy to show it to you now, but I'm thinking about, because I write a lot of articles about stuff, about making like a template example one.
So what I will be
We're filming, right?
Can you scroll so?
What you guys use internally is up to you. I mean,
No, I understand.
No.
it comes with the, I'm happy to share, I'm not, you know, I don't really think,
Sharing is good. No.
I don't really think that, you know,
Sharing is scary.
I don't think you can copy off other companies.
No, it's not so
No.
much more, but it's more like, hey, like what kind of
That's right.
stuff would fit with
It's
another
more
company?
like,
Can we
yeah,
see?
it's more like that if I
fresh-
share a certain document, and for whatever reason it gets out somewhere, it's not a matter of trust, this can always happen eventually, I'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's
Don't
it.
want that.
So I share with you everything, I show it to you, but the document itself, this is one of the few that I can't.
That's okay.
But, and it's not up to date. I haven't updated it, so.
Okay, for Medium blog, did you write in Medium?
I quit Medium and put it on my own website, but yes, I did.
Okay, okay, so probably
You
you
go
will
in there.
have this.
If you go on this website, you can get my blog. I also have a newsletter that I write twice a month, where I share all the new stuff that happens.
Je weet de hele tijd je mobiel op je zaklamp aan of zo. Ik zie dan die lamp achter jou.
Oh,
Dat je hem dan aanzet.
Hoe kun je zo eens kijken als ik zo zit? Of iedereen zo'n camera.
Ja.
Oh, ja.
I'll give you all a couple more minutes and then Saul if you want to present it.
let me see if I can subscribe to your blog from Vivini.
You'll see if you click here, it's going to open for you automatically. I didn't. There should be a.
A/B testing. Oh, well, I'm kind of blocking all the publicity things.
Even the welcome. I don't think I should be blockable, but if you open this in incognito, you'll see it.
Yeah.
That's important as well. or it's not working, which it wasn't working yesterday.
Maybe Safari?
No, I think we can bother. No, you can sign up to it. There's lots of ways if you scroll down.
The whole thing?
Up, and we get up. There.
Oh yeah.
There's also a welcome mat thing.
Sign me up. Are you using what are you using?
I'm using-
WordPress?
This is WordPress.
Yeah, yeah. That's nice.
That's not my website.
Something
You
creepy
go,
from
you
the
can go
shiny.
faster. Why to do?
I was a web designer back in the day. Just SEO web design, but I wasn't particularly good. So
Put on your Spider-Man suit.
Yeah,
Do some web
still
design.
WordPress and Elementor.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, okay, cool. Good.
WordPress is great.
It's the best one I've done. Drupal is like.
Oh yeah.
Is anyone done?
Almost.
Pretty much.
Almost.
Much,
Take another minute if you need.
Okay. You do one article per month according to Vue. You do an article per month according to Vue.
Yeah, because I transferred everything over, so I'm not sure that's
Nice.
accurate.
Nice.
But
I
you
used to
have,
do an article a week. I haven't written. I have 9 articles ready to go, but they're not done. I took a 9-month hiatus from speaking and writing because I was focused on my work.
but you have proven that content really works for Raccoon first, before your
Content is everything.
content is king.
Yes.
Like I said, there is no marketing without content.
Olaf, if
So you-
you tennis king, then you are the queen.
Nice. I'll wear more dresses then.
You also see, like, if you go through my blog articles, you'll see the earlier versions of all of these things. So one of the things I try to do is I've never given this workshop to anyone, so you guys have like an exclusive
But
take on it.
But you feel safe to say that content works for every startup, every company?
Well, content doesn't mean anything, so
Yeah.
You mean like blogs?
Yeah.
I mean blog, right?
Just written blogs, for example.
No, I'm not willing to say it works for
Okay.
everything because I haven't done everything.
Okay.
But I know that we're going to go into this. But ultimately, it's a question. Are you trying to go to the people looking for your product and pull them in? That's one thing. But getting people who aren't looking for your product and get them to want your product is a whole different thing. And that's content's going to play an important role. Does anyone want to share?
Sure.
Yes.
Roadmap is data. It's about data. The 2-year goal is our revenue model is not selling kilometers anymore, but only services based on data.
Mm-hmm.
Data is our new oil.
Success.
Well, Rob,
I think like in 2 years, I think like 100% of the, actually we've got like 100% of the interactions should be like be able to, questions about anything about the service should
Yeah.
be able to be answered within 1 minute.
yeah, so cool.
So to start with, I think like during lunch we should have this talk. What are like the exact metrics about this right now? Who owns this metric? I don't think we know both of these
No, right?
clearly. And I think like a very easy way for us to start with in the coming half year is to make sure that like most of the generic, not very context specific questions could be answered online. I think we should hire a freelancer for this quarter. I think writing content for branding or marketing is to acquire customers very different than writing content
For
for
service, yeah.
servicing.
Yeah,
And I think we should hire someone with that focus mindset. That allows us also to do lots of other things, and but we do need to get insight into the user needs coming half year.
can be part of our OKR then.
Could be part of the OKR, but I think it's a very lightweight of making sure that we set us up for the next quarter, which is the beginning of 2020. And I think we can then like answer like 50% of the specific contact questions online by making that available because we currently do not have your current contract available online.
No.
what is the current running time, what is the specific car, who is connected to this car, all these questions, we need calls for them right now. I did the pirate funnel, and with retention, I just wrote down Johan.
He's our service specialist.
Yeah. So
Holy shit.
I think that's a big thing to win there.
Nice.
I also think we can start some testing on that right now. If we like, what do people actually like to meet, and how would you like to get answers? Maybe we can do things proactively. I don't know things yet. I think this half year, it kind of becomes fussy on how to get there. But in my mind, it's also a lot about upsell, like, and it kind of mixes, because we could sell like car wash subscriptions or whatever, or upgrade a colleague, something like that. And I think we should have those things automated by the end of 2020, and 70% of all product service calls should be online automated. And I think at that point we need someone dedicated towards that, because then it transferred from content marketing to actually making functionality, and it needs
We did the
some
same.
domain knowledge in that.
We did the same. We had all help desk articles, everything created within the growth department by product marketing,
Yeah.
and now it's switched over to customer support and QA. That's nice. So the goal here is really that if you map this out, then when you're thinking about your next quarter's OKRs, by having the bigger picture, it helps you really focus on things.
Yeah.
Because we often found stuff like, okay, next quarter we want to make 60 blog articles instead of, or we want to make 100 instead of 75. It's like, but why? What is the goal? Is it because it's a little bit more than last quarter? Probably not the best reason to put that in there. Is it because that's part of the roadmap? Because it's feeding into a bigger goal? That makes more sense. Cool. Does anyone else want to share?
Yeah, sure. You start with the ideal situation, right?
Sure.
So what I have here is that customers will have an overview of all the contracts in their own dashboard, and we've built services upon that. So for example, people might want to share their car, so they can easily do that, or maybe trade because they go on holiday. An advanced version of that would be that just like every user will have an overview of the contract in their personal dashboard. Professionally would be we ourselves have an overview of the cars in our own system of our contracts. And the foundation now is that we have them in an external system.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so again, every single thing can always be broken down into multiple things, so
Yeah.
it's up to you to draw that line. I can't tell you exactly what makes sense, but if your roadmap is like 10,000 things, it's probably too long. So, but that's like a nice one, it's condensed, but then you need to think about how you're going to achieve, go from one to the next,
Yeah.
to the next.
Yeah, so mine was also about customer questions, which are now somewhere in personal mailboxes and distributed all over the company. So like I think the ideal scenario would be that it's all somewhere in the FAQ, that everyone can find all answers in the FAQ, or are connected to one system which we use, HubSpot, and they use tickets. So and I think the way to go there is just to start with HubSpot, which we already did. And at the same time having our FAQ set up, and then link all the email addresses to HubSpot, so everything gets in there with the tickets, which you can assign to the person responsible for that kind of questions. And then just keep on updating the FAQ with new questions to come in. Just keep track of that.
That's
Yeah.
right, last one.
For me, I was reading about the awareness and the branding.
Yeah.
I feel like for one quarter, it's like quarter one is create a unique branding, then hire an agency to do that for you.
Okay.
So they set up professionally with all the
Guidelines
experience.
and identity.
Yeah, the whole thing. Then the second step will be hire a designer in-house to keep the branding and paste it into the content that we deliver every day. I'm not sure if that would be for the Q2, but I don't know if in Flow, but for Q3 it will be like we share our products within the new branding guidelines. And the four is explore new ways of awareness based on the branding that we built already. Try to find new channels and new challenging ways to find it. I don't know.
The fourth one might risk being a bit too vague.
Yeah.
But the others make sense.
I wrote down, I communicate our vision.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put
That
that
works.
works.
They communicate every word. Yeah, cool. Nice. So customer success seems to be an important
Yeah,
thing
it's a big
here.
lag in
Because
our
it's customer success and data about the users. Because there you go.